Moving on, we will discuss how poverty impacts children. Children face increased levels of isolation due to lack of social opportunities and high stress encounters. They also lack in extracurricular involvement due to limited budgets and parents working multiple jobs. Family time is also compromised because parents are working multiple jobs and are not able to be home as much as parents that are not in poverty and have stable incomes. Children's exposure to verbal, physical, and sexual abuse is also increased due to children being left with older siblings, unqualified babysitters, and unqualified helping adults. Parents who are under the influence of drugs and alcohol have also been found to be more likely to abuse children in all of those areas. Individuals with mental illness, additionally, have been found to abuse children, and these are all aspects that come directly from facing poverty. Next, we will discuss how poverty impacts children's health. Children facing poverty are more likely to be born premature. They're more likely to be born with low birth weights, and they also have a higher risk of death in the first year of life. Children will continue to experience these health risks through adolescence, and they usually tend not to catch up or stabilize. Children will continue to develop below abnormal growth rates. Children are exposed to neurological and developmental problems as well, and are higher risk to develop mental health problems. Poor children are more likely to be diagnosed with behavioral disorders. And again, these disorders impact their every aspect of life. Next, we will discuss the impact on a child's education. To enter kindergarten, schools require children to be educated and fundamentally ready. This means that a child is able to be in good physical health, has begun to develop and continue to develop motor skills, is able to engage in self-care, displays emotional and behavioral self-regulation, demonstrates social skills, demonstrates communication skills, displays pre-academic skills, is able to pay attention, and is able to be curious and shows motivation towards learning. Again, as discussed previously, children in poverty face so much dysfunction that all of these aspects that are required for educational readiness are compromised. Research has found links between poverty and child development that impact a child's academic performance from as early as age 2 and through high school. A child's academic performance can be impacted by one's physical health. They're more likely to be born underweight, increased risk of being born addicted to substances. They also struggle socially. Poor children have poor conversational skills, lower verbal capacity, and as stated previously, they know around 32 million fewer words due to lack of social interaction. They also have a lack of adult and peer socialization, meaning that they don't know right from wrong, they have behavioral issues, and in general, they just have a hard time regulating. Additionally, children in poverty have emotional issues. They have poor impulse control, poor emotional regulation, and poor attention control. Cognitively, children have also been found to be impacted by prenatal drug use, environmental toxins, again due to neighborhoods and due to their experiences, poor nutrition, and exposure to stress and violence. And again, all of those impact a child's ability to learn and to maintain adequate grades and overall success. Readiness for school and entry to kindergarten sets the tone for future success. Between 30 and 40% of children entering kindergarten in the United States are considered not fundamentally or educationally ready for school. Evidence suggests that children living in poverty benefit the most from positive father involvement. Father involvement is overall lacking in the lives of children. Poor children score lower than both middle income and upper income children in reading in pre-K and kindergarten. Children learn best in the context of warmth parent-child interactions. Warmth demonstrates a caregiver's tendency to demonstrate and provide support, sensitivity, and be responsive to a child's needs. I found this graph and I thought that it was great because it shows how much earning power is available based on education, and then also the unemployment rates that go along with those degrees. So the more education that one has, typically the more earning power that they have. And in turn, the more education that one has, the less rate of unemployment. So for those that have minimal paying jobs, unemployment is high and there's high turnaround, and so there are reasons why the situation is what it is. Those with higher degrees, their jobs are more secure, and typically they're not high turnaround because it takes time and investment to find right candidates. So typically people stay in those jobs longer, and also those jobs are appreciated more just because they're hard to come by and hard to find. Physical and nutritional impact that poverty has on children. Children living in poverty lack a balanced nutritional diet. Healthier foods typically cost more to save. Families on a budget turn to prepackaged foods. Children left to tend for themselves also make poor eating choices. Poor eating habits result in poor health and increased in illness. Lack of specific nutrients such as vitamins A, B6, B12, and vitamin C, folate, iron, zinc, and calcium are associated with lower grades and higher rates of absenteeism and tardiness among students. Lack of adequate consumption of fruits and vegetables or dairy products is associated with lower grades among students. So for this reason, again, to be successful, children need to be provided with healthy foods, both for educational and also for their physical health needs. Social development and its impact by poverty. A mother's level of education, household income, and symptoms of depression have effects on a child's social competence in early childhood. Social and emotional competence is necessary and important during early childhood, particularly during preschool years. Children who develop strong social and emotional development do better in school, have increased confidence, and have good relationships, navigate and persist when faced with challenges. Social development continued. Social and emotional well-being can be defined as positive social behavior, development and maintenance of peer friendships and adult relationships, management of aggression, conflict, development and maintenance of self-worth and emotional regulation reactivity. Social competence is needed for children who develop Social competence is needed for children to develop the ability and establish and maintain peer and adult interactions, as well as develop relationships that are necessary in order to succeed both academically and professionally. Proper social development helps prevent development of serious emotional and behavioral difficulties later on in life, such as mental illness and other disorders. Children of color are more likely to experience poverty. These children and their families are more likely to experience isolation through discrimination, exclusion, marginalization. traits which are dangerous for future development and which also attribute to poor social development and poor social behavior. Poverty and its impact on emotion and emotional development. Poverty creates social stress for children and families that often interferes with successful adjustment and development tasks such as school. Low-income families often have limited education, job opportunities which reduce one's ability to provide proper stimulation and safe environment for children to thrive. Verbal interactions typically consist of commands and simple instructions or structure rather than explanations and elaborations that help children to learn, think, and increase word use. So in this area, again, due to poor interaction and poor verbal communication, children are not able to be engaged properly, and so it really impacts their ability to problem solve because they're not receiving that information from their parents, and they're not learning that through seeing it. Cognitive impact due to poverty. Poverty affects the health and well-being of children and adults through effects of stress on the brain. Stress can cause poor neurocognitive development. Children from families who come from impoverished backgrounds are found to have reduced gray matter volumes in the frontal temporal cortex as well as in the hippocampus parts of the brain. Stress causes behavioral and emotional problems due to poor brain development, poor cognitive growth and ability for educational attainment, poor cognition can affect working memory, visual attention, and language. Again, all areas which are needed for children's education. Impact on a child's brain. The body and brain respond to stress through the release of hormones and neurotransmitters. When a child senses danger, they release steroid hormones. Primary stress hormone is called cortisol. High levels of cortisol and adrenaline cause stress to the brain. Adrenaline activates the fear response. The brain then releases neurotransmitters, which increase alertness and feelings of anxiety. Children experiencing poverty and family dysfunction have shown to be more fearful, anxious, and exude extreme alertness. And again, if a child is nervous, anxious, and just overall does not feel safe when they're in school and of school age, those hazards impact their ability to pay attention, remain focused, and to be successful and maintain good grades. Next is the history of poverty. Poverty can be traced back to early colonial days. Poverty did not become a public agenda until early 1900s. America has always established laws to protect the poor, especially children. Through time, these laws have worked themselves into government and have a great impact on how America conducts itself. The difference between how the founders' welfare policies and today's view and how they operate and do things is, in the past they had a how mentality, whereas today the mentality is whether or not the government should help those in need. Federal government has supported and provided services ranging from health care to educational resources, a wide range of laws and regulations to protect and enhance the well-being and rights of Americans under age 21. The progressive era at the beginning of the 20th century addressed problems of poor child health, abusive child labor, delinquency, poverty, failed families, and the institutionalization of children.